Ten championship. Next, like that's just no. It's just wrong. It ain't right.
It ain't right. I mean, we'll see. I will also say this about Washington. I have to throw some Washington aspect in this. It pains me because I love Michael Penix. Kalen DeBoer was really fun with this group. One of the differences going from Jimmy Lake and Peterson before him to Kalen DeBoer. Clearly, there's going to be a gigantic drop-off in recruiting. Like, Kalen DeBoer is a do more with less type of coach. Like, Jimmy Lake was recruiting dudes. Like, think about how many dudes are put in the NFL. The Byron Murphys of the world. Like, they were putting secondary, Sidney Jones. They were putting corner, safety, linebackers, defensive linemen. Like, UW was kind of a quiet defensive NFL powerhouse. And we're recruiting big dudes, talented dudes on that side of the ball. Now, I mean, even like the quarterback spot, like Jake Browning and coming, they were rolling all across the board. Now, Kalen DeBoer and company, I was looking through their recruiting last couple of years. They were 95th in recruiting in 2022. They have 2 commits right now in 2024 total. 2. And they're 77th. Wow. And then in 2023, Matt Green, they were 25th. So I think they with where they were and what that team was last year, because Jimmy Lake and that offense was completely broken 2 years ago. Like, one of the worst offenses in college football. Michael Penix comes in, he stays healthy. And a healthy Michael Penix in that Kalen DeBoer offense was just magic. And they were a lot of fun. They're bringing back their 2 biggest receivers, so their offense should be fine for another year. What happens when Penix graduates? Because guess who's out? The 5-star quarterback, Sam Brockheward? I think whichever.
Sam Heward.
Sam Heward, yeah.
Brockheward's the...
Right. There's just a lot of Hewards, like the Colquitts. There's a lot of them. And he's out. He's out like Cal Poly. He didn't even go to like a G5. He went way away.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, he's gone. So I'm curious what they look like.
He was a 5-star.
Yeah, and just already out. So I look at this and I'm like, is he going to be able to keep this humming? Like, did they actually have the talent to be a playoff team last year? I think they really did, with double-digit wins in year 1 for Kalen DeBoer, set the bar very high. That, like, because remember, UW is they're not a national powerhouse pastime, but like, they are in a good recruiting spot. They care about football, big stadium, good market. Like, they're right there with Oregon. Like, if they're just someone we've grown up like the Rose Bowl with them. They're a premier program in the Pac-10, Pac-12 now, and were they a sleeping giant? They were a sleeping giant, and I think if they go to the Big
Are they awake?
I mean, they might be, but I don't think right now, because I don't think I've seen enough from Kalen DeBoer on the recruiting trail to tell me that this thing is sustainable and that they're going to be a perennial 10-win-ish team. So I think they kind of overachieved with the talent they had last year, and Kalen DeBoer might be one of those coaches who gets a lot more out of less. But, like, if you think that UW is going to be recruiting the same as they did with Peterson and Jimmy Lake after, even with the offensive debacle with Jimmy Lake, like, it's just not going to happen. They're not going to have the dudes. And I just wonder what happens when those defensive dudes are gone and they're just kind of having to rely on a lot of 3-stars and a lot of dudes, and Kalen DeBoer's offensive maestroism. Like, I don't know. I think they kind of overachieved.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. On a separate note, I think we should discuss sleeping giants in the future, because I think you threw out that term and talking about South Florida, and I see people talking about that all the time. I feel like it's the most like overused term these days, and we should get to the bottom of what a sleeping giant truly is, because I feel like Washington kind of feels like that. Like, they won a national title, split a national title, right? Or did they win one outright? 91, I want to say. 89, 91, somewhere around there. But I think Washington, they definitely I think they were my second as far as overachieving goes last year.
Yeah, claimed national title in 1991 and 1960.
Okay.
Unclaimed 1990. So, I don't know.
Let's not forget A&K all the way. Sixth Man, all-time classic film of my childhood.
There you go. Who underachieved the most in the Pac-12 last year for you, Matt Green?
I feel like this was kind of easy for me. It has to be the Oregon Ducks. It's year 1 of Dan Lanning, but this team started 8-1, and they just collapsed down the stretch. Not to mention just some absolute head scratching decisions, fourth down decisions for Dan Lanning also. So I feel like they were like the front runner for the Pac-12, and like the loss to Georgia, it's like Georgia was smashing everybody. So it's like you had a one loss, and your one loss is to the number one team in the country. Like the stage was set for like a yeah but about Oregon, like maybe if it had been like with for them to be the 4 seed, like people would have pushed back on that because it's like we saw Georgia, Oregon already. But Oregon was definitely positioned that if they took care of business, they could have gotten into the playoff. And how things shook out, they definitely could have gotten all the way to the 3 seed. Like we had a team that didn't win the Big 12 that got the 3 seed. So I think even though it was year one, and like Bo Nix obviously had like a huge improvement from what he was at Auburn, but I don't know. It's kind of like how Tennessee had a great season, but you recalibrated the expectations once you got into November, and so you're almost left with a sour taste of what could have been. And it feels like Oregon could have had a lot more. This team could have won the Pac-12 last year, maybe gotten into the playoff, and they just kind of collapsed down the stretch.
That's fair. I'm interested to see what Troy Franklin looks like. Tez Johnson coming in from Troy. Bo Nix, getting him back, I think, is gigantic.